And we're back. What's good, Kenny?
Yo, yo,
Okay,
what's up? Yeah, my
oh,
bad.
okay. I thought
I had
you.
on mute. I was trying to check and make sure everything was pushing through.
Ah,
All right.
all right, man. So, how was your week so far?
All right. We're gonna talk about it a little bit later, but overall the week's been pretty okay. It is cold as hell down here. Trying to maintain warmth and hopefully everybody stays safe and off the roads. We're gonna talk about everything that transpired with Enzo a little bit later in the show. But how's your week been overall?
So it's been a couple of fires out here in San Diego. So hopefully, they're capable of keeping that from growing out of control. There's a border fire right now, which is, uh, I think, mostly contained. There were a couple of fires down in Mission Valley, shockingly, right by Fashion Valley Mall.
Really?
They were able to stop that fire. Yeah, and there was also a fire out there in La Jolla, by Gilman, so close to the university. And they
Okay.
were
Yeah,
able to
I
stop that
think on
fire.
the Yeah, I think on the
Was that?
news I had heard them say something about the La Jolla fire. But are these fires, are they started from the same situation that started the fires north up in the LA
Yeah,
area?
these are
Or
just. It's dry. Like I said in the last show, when my mother was talking about how green it was in San Diego, that just is not sustainable. I mean, it's funny because a lot of people don't understand globally fires are down. Well, yes, that is true. But in areas like California, fires are up because of global warming. You also got to realize in a lot of those areas where there aren't a lot of fires, it's
Mhm.
because those lands have been transformed by agriculture. So those areas that used to be wide open, they're not burning like they used to, but that's because there's agriculture. A lot of those areas have been farmed land. Areas like California where those lands haven't been changed to agriculture and are largely in their natural state surrounded by city, those areas are burning more. And that's true throughout the world. Areas of natural vegetation that was once a nature reserve has houses and stuff built around it now. Those fires are more rampant. And so it's fires are more happening more often in California. And it's all because of, a couple of things. You got these power lines that are under the ground. You got people who are trying to stay warm. And then you have the natural conditions that lead to fires. And all these things are intersecting right now. And we're dealing with that here in California. Some of these fires maybe have been caused by arson. Those are still being
Really?
investigated. So a lot of fires seem to happen around transformers. So it's more likely because of old technology and not going and refurbishing your gear over time, like infrastructure is supposed to have the experience of. We are in the state of constant fire, so that's something that's going on right now here in Southern California, and that's I'm keeping my eye on. A lot of these fires are not near me, but in the vicinity of areas which I would be concerned of.
Yeah, that would make sense because at the drop of a dime, anything could change, and all of a sudden,
Yep,
next thing you know, you get an evacuation warning when you thought, oh, I thought it was further north or further
yep.
east of your location and everything. So yeah, just keep your head on the swivel, be safe. I mean, we know how to have contingency plans and make sure that everything goes well and great. Make sure the family is good. Make sure the family understands the
Yep.
contingency plan
Have
and
your
all those
backpack.
things.
Have a
Your bug
plan.
out kit. Yep, yep,
I
yep.
mean, I used to joke in the military, like my buddies all had guns and stuff, and I was like, man, all that's a bad idea in a house. I said the best plan is an exit plan. You do not want to engage somebody if you don't have to. That's true when you're in the field. If you don't have to engage somebody, you can avoid them. To if you're on a trying to if it's just your fire team and you don't have to get in a firefight, you don't get in a firefight. You avoid that situation.
True, true, true.
Right.
It's a smarter
So
maneuver.
it should be the same way in your household. Like you should have an exit plan. Like if you're in your room and someone enters through the front of your house, you have an exit from the back of your house. You do not have to engage them. If anything, you want to lock them inside, get them stuck inside. because they don't know the area they're inside of, and then they have to leave. And there's only so many ways to leave out of this house without getting attacked by me. You got the back door, you may have a couple windows, but you in danger now, not me. I used to try to tell my boys that, like, you don't gotta engage them in the house. Catch them when they're walking out the door. You don't need to fight them in your house. You don't need to get all
You're
boarded
not
up. My
John
boys
Wicking
were
it.
like,
Don't try to John Wick it in the house.
yeah. I mean, my buddy, one of my buddies, man, he literally would have a bulletproof vest on with some goggles and a AR AK and
Mm,
ready to engage. I'm like, dude, you do not need to do all that. That is fucking nuts.
yeah, that
You
is crazy. That is crazy.
don't need to do that.
But without further ado, I guess we can move on into the show. I know you had a very exciting event happen for you in your home state college football team.
Oh yes. The Ohio State Buckeyes are your national champions. And they're the most legit national champion in history. Nobody can question our championship. You can, in the past, you could argue maybe not the best teams always got into the playoffs.
Hmm.
And okay, we would agree, though, the best teams probably won most of the time. Alabama, very good team. We could probably argue that most of the time Alabama would have won their championships, but there's always an asterisk because a lot of those champions were two-team playoffs, and so pretty much it was a pick 'em, and they always got the benefit of the doubt. There was probably a couple years where Alabama would have lost to somebody, maybe in Ohio State, maybe at Georgia, maybe in LSU, maybe at Notre Dame, maybe at Texas. But they didn't get in because they had one loss or two losses.
Hmm.
But this year, everybody who had a claim to the national championship was invited to the party. You had a claim? You want the Game of Thrones? You want to sit on the throne? All right, show on up. Here's the thing though. Ohio State destroyed everybody they played. Even when the games were close, they weren't close. Just ask Texas. There's one theme that seems to be true throughout all of these playoffs. When I listen to their fan bases talk, it exposes just how much the national media fails to explain to them just how good those northern teams are. Because these people were completely and utterly shot. Like they were so shot by their loss that they believed that their coaches committed failures. They were just incompetent. And it's not true. Here's a theme at every college team that lost to Ohio State says. We were on the one. We were just 2 yards away. We had 3 yards to gain. And we just make these decisions.
Oh,
But the thing is that you were in that situation 4 times against Ohio State and did not score in games. This is true. Ohio State has like 12 or 14 1 yard stands on the fourth and go, and have turned every single person away with 0 points except 3 times.
oh wow.
So Ohio State's defense was doing this to people all season long. But I listened to these guys and they're like, Coach Lanning, man, he cowered out. Or Marcus Freeman, he just kicked that field goal. No, he didn't just kick that field goal, because twice already he was at that. He needed 1 yard and didn't get it against Ohio State. And he ran up the middle. Then he did a toss. Then he threw the ball. Then he ran again, and then they had to punt. And he's done this 3 times already. So when he kicks his field goal, he's already ran it up the middle 4 times. He did 3 toss. He sent his quarterback to try to get it, and he didn't get it. And so now he's like, I got to get these points. And he kicks the field goal, and it bunks off.
Hmm.
Same thing with Texas. Texas was on the fourth and go. All game long, Ohio State has been denying them the same way. They needed a yard, couldn't get it. Needed an inch, couldn't get it. 4 or 5 times. So now they're finally at the 1 yard line against Ohio State. They finally there, and they have no choice. And he does the same thing everyone else does: run up the middle, lose 2 yards. Send the
Mm-mm.
QB, doesn't get it. Throw the ball, Downs catches it, or it bounces off Downs' hands. So what do? You just throw any play out there. You just try anything because your choices right now just aren't working. I want to play this clip right here, man, because this clip right here captures perfectly the experience.
I didn't check the email. I don't know if he sent me the email or not, but I haven't had a chance to actually fully check it. But he was saying that the stream was seems to be dropping frames. I'm watching it on the monitors. It seems like it's going through pretty fine right now, and I'm watching over on the kick side. But it seems stable right now. Okay. So you got the clip? No worries.
Offense the last two series, we have penalties, and we have months now. Defensively, we just gotta relax, man. Yeah, this moment shouldn't be too big for us, but we gotta relax, and go back and do the things we're supposed to do and be aggressive. So we're good, bro. Third down, right?
Pretty much right there. This was at the halftime, right? Ohio State, this is what happens. Notre Dame goes up the field like 18 plays and scores a touchdown. They are spent. They're running against a brick wall the whole time. Now, everything, you know what people saw is just not reality. Those guys had to literally push their bodies to the edge of exhaustion just to score one touchdown against Ohio State.
Damn.
Everybody else was like, oh man, that was a dominant run. It was not. Them boys were getting smashed by Ohio State. Smashed. And the only reason they were able to get that touchdown is because their quarterback would just put his life on the line. He would get hit so hard that you could see that he's almost unconscious. Like he's barely getting off the ground. And
I
they
mean,
do
it
this.
is.
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say it is a national championship game. If you got to put your body on the line, this will be the game to do it in. I mean, and especially if the Ohio defense was making them work that hard, then yeah, it makes sense that hey, he got to put it completely on the line.
This is very true. Here's the problem. This is why they lose because they did a whole 4 quarters of fighting in that one drive.
Damn.
18 plays, like 9 minutes. He was done. For the rest of the time, he couldn't throw the ball. He didn't. He was always stressed out. If they didn't get the first 5 yards, you could see him throw his hands up like, fuck. Because he knew he didn't have it in him to fight for those 4 yards. If they called a run, he wasn't getting that. He was barely able to stay on the field. The dude after that drive went to the sideline and threw up,
Damn. That's crazy. That is crazy. That
and
means
then
you
sat
are
down,
exhausting
and
your
his
body.
body was shaking. His body was like you could see, just like his body was in shock because he did something that he probably shouldn't have done. And Marcus knew that. Marcus Freeman saw that, was like, I won. We just lost the game, and the game
Mm.
just started. It's over already because nothing we're doing is easy. And just like he said, no matter what he called, Ohio State had an answer for their defense because Ohio State This may be the greatest offense in college football history. They just were. No one's equal. Like if their defense is considered one of the best defenses to ever play, Ohio State's offense was one of the greatest offenses to get on the field. Yeah, they lost 2 games. You can call those flukes. Because the reality of it is this: Freeman is a great coach. He is a product of Ohio State. He was an Ohio State coach before he left and went to Notre Dame. He was a recruiter for Ohio State. He is Ohio State educated. He went off to the NFL and then came back to Ohio State. He's a great coach, like maybe one of the best. And you can see by what he was saying right there, there was like, what do I do? Because it's not fair. We go zone, they score a touchdown. We go
Mm,
man, they score. We reload the box, they score a touchdown. What do you do then? You call any defense you want, it don't matter. Ohio State would go and score 4 straight touchdowns. They had
that's crazy.
they had 31 unanswered points. The game was over. And this is an experience that Texas had, Tennessee had, Oregon had, and Notre Dame had. They all experiences. And Penn State saw that experience, and Indiana saw that experience. They had experienced that with Ohio State because they did it to them during the regular season, where these teams would show up, and they're some of the best teams with the best coaches, and they had no answers. And this was a shock
Damn.
because a lot of people talked as if this wasn't going to be the outcome. And I'm like, what are you talking about? This was always to be the outcome. Like, this was the outcome of that game. But there's some funny moments.
Okay, let's go. I know one thing. I was reading an article concerning. They said the viewership was actually a little bit down. It capped out probably, what did they say, at like 200 or 22.1 million viewers, and it peaked at 26.1 million viewers around the 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time mark. Um, is there any significance of why you think that is? Because they were. Oh, go ahead.
No, no, no. You can talk because it's just a celebration right there. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, the reason is one, college football are played on Saturdays. Why
Yeah,
was it a Monday night game? That don't make sense.
yeah, that's kind of interesting. So,
Yeah, that's stupid. All right. Two, it should have been on New Year's Day. The championship has always been on New Year's Day. But
true,
because we
true.
have added these extra games and we allow the media companies to hijack the experience, so Disney and ESPN gets to decide the future of college football, and so they put the game on a Monday night, which I guarantee you they would not have done if it was a SEC game.
Hmm. Interesting.
They
Okay.
would have had that SEC if it was Alabama playing or something. ESPN has a responsibility to SEC because they have a contract with SEC. Suddenly, that game would have been on Saturday. They were making arguments to push that game towards New Year's, but they didn't because Alabama didn't even make it.
Hmm.
And it's not they don't have that same kind of love for Georgia or Tennessee or Texas.
Yeah.
Though none of them made it to the national championship. So there wasn't what was the incentive to put this as a front running story? Because honestly, college football is, in my opinion, bigger than the NFL. On a regular Monday, I mean, Ohio State playing Chuck State gets 22 million views. Ohio State always has 17 to 18 to 22 to 25 to 30 million views for their games.
Okay.
It's regional, but everybody watching those games. I mean, Ohio State has one of the largest fan bases and alumni bases in the world. Like, I was in Japan and there were people walking around the airport with Ohio State shirts on.
Okay.
And
Shout
this is
out to
when I
them
got
then.
deployed for Operation Enduring Freedom. So I just happened to be in Tokyo as a layover. And I look around and it's these three dudes, randomly Japanese dudes, completely silent, airport, because they are silent and quiet. And they
Yeah.
were wearing Ohio State like polos, carrying suitcases. And I was just like, yo, we everywhere. And it's the same thing for Michigan. Michigan is the same way. Ohio State and Michigan kind of have the same kind of fan bases. They're all over the world. They are what they are. But this is a back-to-back Big Ten championship, and it's the two perennial gods of the Big Ten. So Michigan and Ohio State, which pretty much runs the Big Ten. And then there's everybody else. And now we have back-to-back championships, and we also have our rivalry, which to me is not as important anymore. And I'm gonna be real. And it's not because we won a national championship without beating Michigan. It's because we spent the last 20 years owning Michigan. Michigan just got good like yesterday. We literally for 20 years, my daughter had never saw for her most of her life, she had never known Ohio State to lose to Michigan. Never. So
That's
all of a
impressive.
sudden they win 4 games and they talk like they're important. And that's when I realized the only reason Michigan is even relevant is because of Ohio State. Because outside that national championship, Michigan hadn't won one in like before the 60s. Their last national champion was like 38 years ago or something. A long time ago, like maybe 98 or 96. That's the
Mm.
last time they won a championship. Outside of that, they have been completely and utterly irrelevant in the Big Ten. Ohio State has owned them for almost 20 years, 23, 24 years. So the game had lost its meaning because we were the only ones making it meaningful. Because Michigan was just getting tossed. I mean, people talk about Harbaugh. Harbaugh left with a losing record against Ohio State. He does not have a winning record against Ohio State. He has a losing record. So I realized
Okay.
like the only thing that keeps Michigan relevant is Ohio State, and we doing them a favor. They ain't nobody to us. And as soon as Ohio State says you don't mean nothing, Michigan will mean nothing. But
All right.
that's my view on it. It's kind of like with Georgia and Alabama. People try to make it like a rivalry. I don't think Alabama looks at it as a rivalry with Georgia. They say
It kind of is.
they just don't. Was that?
I say, no, for the most part, it kind of is though down here. I mean, it's just like how you with Ohio State and Michigan, how if those teams don't play in our market and we don't see them often enough, the value of the rivalry is going to be a different value to us down here compared to even our rivalry with Georgia and Alabama to y'all up there. And that's just one of the interesting things about college football is so many teams, so many different colleges that unless you really get to see them, then you really don't know how big or how deep the rivalry is. I do find it
Thank you
interesting to
for
say,
saying that. You're right, and that also exposed the national media.
well,
I
yeah, true.
realized they have no idea what they're talking about. None.
Yeah. And the other part I was going to say is I do understand the thing about how since it's not the contract that ESPN has with the SEC, that way that the game was not as put to a perfect place for efficiency for everybody can watch it and see it compared to it should have been on New Year's like every other game is, or they need to start working out something to where it does fall consistently on that time. So all the teams that are there get their fair shine overall.
Hmm.
So
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I was listening to what's the guy, the big mouth guy on ESPN, the black dude. It's AJ
Stephen
Smith or
A. Smith,
something.
Stephen A. Smith.
Stephen A. Smith. So I'm listening to this motherfucker talk, man, and then I realized he hadn't watched Ohio State play at all this season. He ain't seen one game. I mean, he hears words like Jeremiah Smith. Like I realized that what ESPN so-called journalists get, they get like the spark notes.
Yeah.
They
I
go,
believe so.
this
I
is a
mean,
good player, and
you
they
got to
know
think
his
about how many
name.
games go on that I don't think they can sit there and watch every single game,
But
but I
you
do
didn't. You
think they have
can't
that
call
ability.
yourself. So then, why do I care about your opinion?
And that's a
Your
fair
opinion
statement.
isn't based on the game. Like, all right, for instance, I was listening to a guy named Kangaroo Black. He's a Alabama like fan, hardcore. He has his own YouTube. He talks about all he does is talk about the team, and he was talking about things in a way that you would expect these national media guys to understand, but they don't because they don't know anything about the teams they talking about. None of them. They don't even know about the teams that they're supposed to know about. Like the SEC, ESPN, those guys, Stephen A. Smith, he's supposed to know everything about Alabama. He ain't know shit about Alabama.
Okay.
He know the spark notes. When I hear this guy speak, he was like, there was no way Alabama was going to be good this year. He's like, what y'all talking about? It was they weren't going to be good this year. It was the first year they had a running back at as a quarterback. He's like, you can count off the players didn't really want to be there. They didn't have the advantages in the places that they needed to have those advantages. They were inconsistent at QB. What are y'all talking about? But if you listen to Stephen A. Smith, Alabama was a threat all season long. Alabama lost to freaking Vanderbilt.
Yeah, crazy,
Sorry,
crazy,
bro.
crazy.
They were never a threat. And then they got boat raced by Oklahoma. Oklahoma, the worst team in the SEC, which is a shock. Like I said, why did Oklahoma show up there just get their ass? Oklahoma is going to be Nebraska in the Big Ten. Just be
Wow.
going and giving up that butt. Just come over there. It's like, oh, you need to win? Come on over, man. I'll give it to you. I'll give you a mercy win. You could
That's
just take.
crazy. That
You
is crazy.
could just take it. All right. So Kenny, how's the weather out there, man? Because
All right.
it seems
So
crazy.
the Southeast Georgia storm, Enzo. Enzo was crazy. They have been talking about it in the news the whole time. Basically, it dropped a whole bunch of snow all the way across the Southeast. Places that never got snow broke records for the amount of snow they got. It wasn't a crazy, crazy amount of snow. It was just for the fact of down here in the South, we don't typically deal with snow for this capacity, and then the snow turned to ice. Right now, outside of my home, it's still fully white blanketed, and it's basically just a frozen. It's like it's just a solid slab of ice. Just give you some numbers right quick. The In Alabama they had 11 inches. In Florida they got 8.8 inches. In Georgia we got 7 inches, and in Louisiana, because it was snowing in New Orleans, 11.5 inches. Mississippi 9 inches. North Carolina got 2 inches. South Carolina got 3 inches, and Texas got at least 6 inches of snow. Um,
I saw
in
something
my
that was crazy. Someone put a picture of New Orleans, and it
Yeah,
was a snowman. It was like a
yeah.
snow, like a real life snowman just standing in the middle of
Yes.
their park. I was like, "Yo, what are you serious?"
Yes, they did get that amount of snow, and that's down on Bourbon Street, the heart of Mardi Gras, all that. They got snow. And this right here, this is River Street. This is downtown Savannah. That's the Georgia Ferry, or the Savannah Ferry. But yeah, that's how much snow was actually. People actually did take the time to go outside, do snow angels, make snowmen, and all that stuff. The kids and everything was out of school. A lot of jobs had gave their people work from home. We actually had a bridge that collapsed from the snow and ice in
Are you
Waycross, Georgia.
serious?
Yeah, which is not too far from me. It's more of a rural bridge. But yeah, that all broke down. Overall, the temperatures dropped down to like 19 degrees. So that was another thing. If you just going outside to check the mail, I had to dress up in layers. I haven't had to do that in like since forever. So it was just a big adjustment, and then realizing that even if I wanted to go get something, it would be a very potential dangerous journey because there was a tons of black ice on the road. So
Hmm.
that's what happened, and that's what we got. And it came all the way across. It was little icy rain the night of, and then woke up the morning with, as you can see here, full coat blanket. Some of our major uh, fountains frozen over in like the downtown squares area. So yeah, it was a very significant event for the southeast. They even had, like I said, they had snow in Florida. There's pictures of like Pensacola Beach that is fully blanketed with snow, and people like, I've never seen the beach covered with snow.
I can't even imagine a beach, a real beach, with
Mhm.
mad snow on it.
Yeah,
That is wild, dude.
yeah, a real beach with real snow, fully covered. So that was just a big thing.
I
Luckily
mean,
out
I
here,
can't
most of
even.
our
Have you ever in your mind said to yourself, "Oh, I wonder if I can make a snowman on the beach"?
I've never thought about it, but you could. You could.
You could have
You
done that
definitely
this
could.
year. You could literally put him out there and have like a towel, like he's out there sunbathing, just hanging
Yeah.
out on the beach.
Yeah, people could do that. I know in Louisiana, a lot of people they were taking their fan boats and just driving them down the street because since it was ice and the fan boats can run, it's not going to be giving
Hmm.
that friction from like a paved street. They were just out there spinning around with their fan boats and everything. I couldn't find a clip of it. I was going to try to locate it, but I had seen it on the news and it was somebody that probably posted on TikTok, but I didn't get a chance to
Yeah,
actually clip that. But that was a this has been a significant thing. It is still ongoing too, because the ice is just now barely melting. I think when I just checked, the temperature had got up to like 47 degrees. But yeah, other than that, just trying to stay in the house, stay warm. I was drinking my little hot cocoa earlier, but I know I need
that
to do
is
my grocery
crazy,
shopping,
man.
and I haven't got around to it yet because I
Has
want
it?
the ice to be
You're
lower.
from Georgia, so when's the last time it snowed like that in Georgia?
Dude, I cannot recall the last time it snowed like this. It the last it's not even not like this. The last time it was a nice decent dusting, which probably I want to say because I wasn't living here at the time. I want to say probably like 10 years ago, where it kind of everything was kind of lowly coated white, but it wasn't like this is like 3 inches of snow, so you can scrape it up and do stuff with it. But that
Jeez,
time was just
man,
like a
that's
dusting.
crazy.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, I
so
can't think of a time. I mean, I remember going to Atlanta. It was in the winter time, December 17th or something like that. And it was cold, but and they considered that like rough weather. I mean, it was like raining,
mhm.
kind of icy out, but there was no snow. I had a layover there, matter of fact.
Yeah, like I know locally the Savannah Hilton Head Airport they had to close down because runways had frozen over and they couldn't take off of anything. And I also think it happened in Atlanta's international airport also. And I'm reading this right now. It says this for New Orleans they had broke the record. They hadn't seen snow like this in over 100 years. Basically, it hadn't been since like 1948.
Oh my God, dude, that's crazy.
And that's New Orleans. New Orleans it'll get cold, but typically they don't get snow. So
Yeah, no, I know it doesn't get snow. Like typically, snow in New Orleans is considered
extremely rare.
abhorrent. Yeah, it's an abhorrent event
Yeah. So,
with
but
some
hopefully
serious implications to world weather.
yeah, but hopefully everybody's doing okay and everything. I'm going low on my household supplies, so I'm waiting out to probably like it's supposed to warm up coming towards like Saturday night, Sunday, at least enough that hopefully all the snow is melted. Then I might have to venture out and give me some more food and stuff. So, oh, they shut down
Damn,
DoorDash too.
man,
That was another interesting thing because I was just curious and I went
they
to go check
shut
it.
DoorDash down.
Yeah, but it was hazardous conditions on the road.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Um, Yeesh, dude.
But everybody's
Did you
safe for
know
the
the
most
storm
part.
was coming?
Yeah, they had pretty much announced it, and this is really significant now because they actually named winter storms, and this one was called Enzo. So when they name a winter storm, that means it's going to be a significant impact. The same way they name hurricanes in the summer is the same way that
Oh,
they name some significant winter storms.
did
So
not
soon
know
as
that.
as soon as you start hearing that, I knew about that since what Sunday night, Monday. Monday I got everything I needed for the last week through the week, and then I was good.
So are the winter storms ever like the hurricanes out there? I mean, they have to be rare. I
No,
mean,
they're
hurricanes
extremely
aren't rare,
rare.
but the storms are the winter
Well,
storms.
usually what happened with this one too is there was called the Arctic bubble that came down from the north. Basically the whole Canada thing, because basically the whole East Coast is extremely cold right now. But because it stretched so far down to us, and then that storm was coming through, which normally a winter storm would have just been rain, basically, because the temperature still would have been warm. But however, since
Yeah,
that Arctic storm came so far low, and that rain storm that was started over in Texas was coming across, that mixture just made snow, and boom, we got it from Texas all the way across up until I think right now people in Vermont are still having some effects of it, but they're used to snow, so it's not that much of a
yeah,
crazy thing for them.
Yeah, like being from Ohio, I was used to snow.
Yeah,
Yeah, I enjoyed it, loved it. It rarely ever got us out of school, but and so it just turned into an inconvenience having to walk to school in snow. But
yeah. Like out
the
here,
one or two times a year.
they have to extremely plan to make sure they get the machines, consult the road,
Hmm.
grind the roads, and all that stuff because it is an extremely rare occurrence that we even have to take those steps.
Yeah, I always felt like the people who were in charge of those the salting machines,
Hmm.
they must have been parents because some motherfuckers were like, "Oh, you going to school tomorrow?" Because I mean, it would be the craziest amount of snow, and then we get up and it'd be like the roads would be clean. You'd be like, "This motherfucker it gotta be somebody's dad." Like, "Yo, you going to school? You
Yeah,
ain't
they get
chilling
out there and
at
do it.
home."
But yeah, for us, I mean, like the last biggest situation storm was the one when it happened when it just dipped down to Atlanta. And remember, it shut the city of Atlanta down because people were stuck in traffic due to car accidents and stuff, and people's cars had ran out of gas and everything. So there's just something that, and because they always made fun of it, they always say it looked like The Walking Dead when you see it because they took pictures of it where people actually had to leave their cars and find basically walk home or get home another way. But yeah, normally
Damn.
this far down, this far southeast in Georgia, let alone in Florida, it's extremely a weird occurrence. So
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, man. Okay, should we jump back into these kids and younger generation struggle?
yeah, because this is the meat and potatoes of the conversation that we want to put a pin in to
Yeah, yeah.
bring back.
So
Because you said you had some type of an example of something that kind of happened more recent with your
when
kid.
there's just the overconfidence, the
Hmm.
situation is this: they like our children, for example. We live in Southern California, so nothing's really close. Everybody's kind of far away from each other, but you drive those places on a regular basis, right?
Hmm.
So they have no concept of time and distance. And like my daughter has her driver license, but my son doesn't has his, so he it kind of wants you to drop him off everywhere. And you're like, nah, man, you're gonna have to start doing these things on your own. Like you're gonna
Hmm.
have to take that on you're gonna have to make these decisions. You're gonna have to plan out how your day goes. Like perfect example, my daughter trying to do everything, and you only have a finite amount of time in your life. Like you can't do everything. And so
Hmm.
that's one of the conflicts with the kids. Is like trying to be in all these different groups and all these different things and prioritize your school. Like you can't do all these things. And that's what we're dealing with on that
Yeah.
one point. The lack of the ability to not to say no and to understand that you can't do everything that's on this list. Like you're gonna
So
have to cut things out.
they have a thing of overcommitting to stuff when they don't understand, like, hey, you wake up at this time, you got to be at school at this time, then you got your after school activities, then you still may have homework, then you still got whatever responsibilities of chores or something, then you still got to
Yep.
make sure you're prepped for the next day. But then they're like, no, I want to go to basketball practice, chess club, glee club, all these other things. That's what the issue they're running into.
Yeah, mostly my daughter, because she's trying to do all these extra things. The boys, Tony's in extra stuff, but I mean, our son Lex, he's could care less. If he's in his room, that's the place he wants to be. He ain't
Okay.
trying to do anything extra. We're never going to have to say, we have to add things to his agenda because if it was up to him, he would just go to school and come home. That
Keep it
would be the
simple.
end of it. It
Keep
would
it
be.
simple. But no, I will. I know this story. This popped up because it was things of the skills that they're losing. But this was more interesting for me on a more recent situation because, like I said, my nephew, he was in a car accident against a deer, and his car got totaled. So this is him actually purchasing a new to him car, but actually going through the actual paperwork and doing all those things. And it was just the fact that take the initiative to do it yourself. You do have to go and price out your insurance. You do got to make sure that whatever loan you're taking, that it is within your means. Make sure you have your budget. Make sure that all these stuff is done. Even though he is off in college, he is, over the age of 18 and he's doing extremely well. I'm extremely proud of him. It is still that weird tendency that he does of, oh, let me just ask my mom. And I'm like, you need to start weaning yourself away from it. Or if anything, have the solution of what you're going to do, and then ask some respectful adult that is this a good idea? But don't just
Mm-hmm.
depend on your mom to do everything for you, because it was one of the big things with the insurance of he basically was just going to try to ask his mom, my sister, just to switch. I'm like, but you even price it because you're getting a newer vehicle. Is it going to be a burden on her? Because she can keep you on the insurance because you're still in college and all those things are good.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still showing you these are things that you're going to have to take care of in the future. You can't just think that forever, for the rest of your life, your mom or your dad or whoever is just going to be there to do it for you. You should learn this skill on your own. And I mean, it was even down to I went with him when he went to go look at the vehicle, but it's down to having a conversation, an actual adult, a conversation, especially when you're conducting business, to understand you're talking to this person. If there's questions you have, you ask this person these questions. Don't do the thing where you're uncomfortable and then you look over at whoever the elder adult is. I'm hearing, if I hear something wrong, I'm going to say something, but you're learning this skill set. You're learning this actual person to person engagement that even in this article, they were saying that younger adults, especially with the groups that are all working together in the same workplaces, they're noticing that is that whole thing of when you need something done, it is good to go and talk to that person directly outside of that text message, that email, and all those things. So it was just some of the skills that I think I don't know how we're going to get them back, and it is going to lead to, if people are in control of some stuff, or they're going to be left out. Like, for example, I would even say getting a raise. I haven't had a civilian
Mm-hmm.
job in like forever and a day, but I would understand that to get a raise in civilian side, you may have to go talk to your boss and present your case of why you need a raise. But if you never had that skill, never had to do that, or have a fear of doing that, then how are you ever going to, go up in your work structure? How are you ever going to make more money or anything like that? I mean, the benefit we had was in the military. You take a test, you do this, boom, 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 promotion. So,
Yeah. I think one of the biggest problems, I was listening to a podcast called the Big Ballers podcast or something. Podcast, Big Ballers or something like that, right?
mhm,
And I guess these guys mostly talk to like club promoters or club owners.
mhm.
So they're talking about social behavior a couple of days ago. And they were talking about how like people aren't social anymore and clubs are suffering because of it.
Oh, clubs are dead. I've seen a bunch of videos on that, and I'm like, it's true. But continue. I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. You're right. No, um, I haven't been in one in a long time. But he talked about how even when there is a mostly in these guys are all in Atlanta
Hmm.
too. So these guys are talking about Atlanta clubs. I can't speak for San Diego. I don't go to clubs in San Diego, but I would assume that's probably mostly the same. He said people will
Yeah.
go to the club and they're on their phone. He says they're
Hmm.
antisocial, but like they're on their phones and then they're like DMing people who are at the club.
Yes. 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 This is 100% true.
Dude, that make no sense. When he said that to me, he was like, "Yeah, they're over here at the club. They're DMing the girls who are at the club. They won't talk to them. They won't walk up to them. Won't even dance with them." He said the dance floors are getting smaller and smaller because what's the point of the dance floor?
Yeah.
Although they did say that there is one type of club experience that is actually starting to become more popular, and I guess that's like R&B parties. It's a thing they call. I guess it must be an Atlanta thing because they call it R&B parties, and
Possibly
they
could
and
be
they just
true.
and they just play R&B music, and people go and they're like dancing and have a good time, and that's a little bit more social. He said, but the idea now in a lot of clubs, uh, he said one guy's was, I'm sorry, one guy's reason for it is because of how much it costs to go to clubs.
That part is true too. Yeah. The thing that is so different to me is going out when we were younger and going out, and I'm talking like strictly 21 to like 25,
Yeah.
maybe maxing at 30, 21 to 30. Going out, what it was probably like a $10 cover, $15
Yep.
cover, drinks maybe $6, $7 a drink. Um, having a section wasn't a thing at the time.
Nope.
Having, bottle service and stuff wasn't a real thing. So going out just to get out and go someplace was, you usually can find decent parking. You probably didn't have to pay something crazy for parking, but then you can walk. If you were smart, you took a taxi. I've seen people go to the club, catch a bus. That was in Hawaii. But going out at the time, it was more efficient. I go $20, 30. Having a night out was not going to be more than like 50 something dollars. Now because
Yes.
now because there is basically nobody dances really. Everybody wants to have a section because the section is what they have their phones for to record. Oh, I got a bottle, I got the sparklers and all that stuff. But then you think about that bottle, which you can go to the liquor store and buy it for like maybe $30,
$5.
is going to no wait. How much you say?
$5 or $10, depending on what you're drinking.
No, I'm talking about getting the bottle service.
Oh, bottle no, no, bottle service is probably $1,000.
And that's at
Stupid.
a high fancy snooty club. But even if you're at a reasonable, like just not a high fancy club, that's still gonna be about $500. Then on
That's
top of that,
stupid.
most people try to split it with their friends. So either way, you're still coming out $100. Now clubs have it to where you got to pay for parking. The club interest is usually around $20 to $30 now, and so it's like it makes no sense. And then when you go there, everybody's up and they're not really doing, they're not dancing like that, and it's everybody is sitting around in the VIP section on their phone, either texting the people like you said that they're next to, or if they see somebody, because this is what I see somebody do, they'll be in the club and they're looking to see who's else in that club, and then they will respond like, hey, I'm here too, and that's how the conversation goes. But it isn't, hey, hold up, let me go talk to this girl. It's more like, oh, I'm here too, I'm here too, and then the conversation is there. But you're over there in your section, they're over there in their section. But that's how the club plays out. And a lot of the club now, with the music particularly, they do play a lot of the vibey rap music, which I understand when you say the R&B parties, because one question that my nephew did ask me one time, when we watch like old rap videos and you see the club scenes, he goes, "Clubs was like that when you were growing?" Like, yeah, clubs were really like that. To them, it's like, no, people really be dancing and waving bottles and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that really used to be more of a club scene compared to now. It's like it's not the same.
No, and that's crazy to me. So our kids are growing up less social. The
More connected.
environments where you became socialized aren't social spaces anymore. We don't
Oh,
have social spaces like that.
they're
Because that's
photo op
how, I
spaces
mean,
now.
yeah, I mean, first you learn how to be a friend. In like in the military, you go to the base, you don't know nobody, you learn how to make friends. And then you guys learn how to be social people outside of work. And a lot of time that's through going to clubs or going to concerts or doing those things you would do off base. One of the biggest things that we did as we were young, we would hit the club. We would go to TJ,
Hmm.
we club out there, we go downtown, we hit those spots and we would have a good time. Dude, I can't imagine being in the military today and not having those social spaces. What do the hell do they do?
Everybody's on the internet, everybody streams, everybody just plays their video game, everybody. I mean, I think there is somewhat of a resurgence of people doing like communal sports and stuff, because I be seeing a lot of that on like my timeline, where there's be like people that play kickball and things like that, but it's more like an activity sport. But as in that moment of going, getting fly and going out to particularly interact with people you will be attracted to, I don't think that happens the same way anymore.
Damn, man, you did. I mean, I've met people just at the gym. I guarantee they just stare at people at the gym now.
No, well,
They don't even talk to each other.
the gym is almost one of them places where it's just a photo op almost. I mean, if
That is
you go to the gym now,
crazy.
you will see more people with their phones streaming or taking photos of their workout just to say they went to the gym. They went to the gym, and it's the image that they're creating compared to actually going in there, doing a real good workout and getting your sweat on, and then leaving.
Real talk. That's how I met people. Like I'd go to the gym and you'd really be exercising, and some girl would be like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah, no, to me that is 100% true. But I don't, for whatever reason, in the way it seems like it is now, none of that stuff. I mean, probably like CrossFit, which is still a gym thing. I think that has, because that has that built-in social thing of people that do CrossFit. It's like a special workout. I can
Mm-hmm.
understand that people
Yeah,
get
but I always
social out
found them
there.
to be weird ass people too, though. I've met
Well,
those
yeah,
CrossFit people. They
but
are
that is like a
fucking
core
weird.
group compared to just being young. Because like right now, you can bring up something kind of funny. Right now, in my mind, if I was still in the service and I got off of work on a Friday night, and it's this, and we're in this era, in my head, I'm like, what the fuck would I do? Because I went to the club, and it's like everybody just, I mean, unless I fell into that whole system of just doing it that way. But since I don't know that that's kind of how I should be doing it, I'll be out there and I'll probably be the weird person in the club trying to actually talk to people. And they be like, dude, get
Yep.
away. Why the fuck you trying to talk to me? So it
Yeah, it
was like
don't
you
make
get off work
sense.
and then you just go back to your barracks. I mean, and then I'm assuming everybody has like a laptop or a computer game. And I mean, that's what they probably do now. They get off work, go to the barracks, and just sit and do that. I mean, outside, unless you have like some actual hobby, bike riding, roller skating, things like that. Because I knew people that would still do those things, but it's unless it's like an activity that little kick it, get fly, look good, and go out into the world and try to meet someone. I don't think that that happens the same way anymore.
You know what's interesting? I
What's
was
up?
talking to my girl. I guess people still go to TJ and they still
Mhm.
party in TJ. And from what I can understand, I would assume TJ hasn't changed much. Like you go to clubs, you dancing at those clubs. Like that, those clubs are dance clubs. They're not, you know, you
Yeah.
know, they're not an Instagram club. You know what I'm saying? These are
No.
not places you're taking pictures inside of. Like that's not gonna happen. There's gonna be
But
mad
then
people in there. You're not gonna have your own space.
yeah, because I don't know if just because the way the money works, I think TJ probably would still be the same. I don't think it would change that much. But then in my mind, I'm like the only people that would probably would still go there is extremely young people. But I don't think TJ would have it to where when you go to the club, it's that photo op now. I don't think because if they decided to do that, then that means the cost of going to the club there it may be just slightly cheaper than going in America, but it wouldn't be that much if you
It
still
wouldn't
got to
be
get
that
your own
much because your
section and everything.
expectation would be you pay what you pay there to get that experience.
Yeah,
It's wow. So yeah, I don't know what I would have done. I'm happy that I was in the military when I was in the military and life was the way it was when I was in it because I could not imagine being in this very superficial world. I think their experience are utterly superficial.
yeah, I would agree that majority it's the persona that you portray online or on the internet for the majority of the younger people, from
Like
the
you would
whatever
live
your
in this.
socials say.
Yeah, what if you are so obsessed with your social media presence, you are a bit delusional. Like if you are trying to measure out your value based on these theoretical people, you have to be delusional. Like you have to be a delusional person.
But that's where they get the whole word having clout, having motion. That's where all that comes from
Yeesh.
because you're not that delusional if everybody else is using the same measuring stick. It's for us it's weird because we don't use that measuring stick.
You know what? You're right. That's a great line. You're not that delusional if everybody's using the same measuring stick.
Yeah, and I mean for us it's weird to look at because we never had to get our measuring stick was not that. To them it is. So,
That would
but
be like, hey man, how many you meet a girl and be like, how many likes do you have or how many followers do you have? That is
that's a
fucking
real thing.
crazy.
Most of them, when they even meet each other, they don't even ask for their phone number. They ask for their social. What's your Instagram? What's your Instagram is like a actual thing.
Oh, how
So
depressing.
it's just, but these are skills that I do feel that the younger generation is losing. And outside of just the social part of it, to me, I have somewhat apprehension about them having to continue to work, particularly if it's in an actual workspace with older people who don't really get it all the way, who don't understand it all the way, and who may think it's being rude or aloof or or you're not really valued as the person that works in this company because I never see you in my office, you never come to meet me or something like that. It was just like
Mm-hmm.
that. Sorry, it was just that thing. I mean, with my nephew, I think he has an advantage because he works in customer service, so he actually interacts with customers. So I don't think he would have that much of an issue. But it's also like somebody that decided to do a lot of their schooling at home, and then what if they do find a work from home job for majority of the time, but the time they're in the office, when the big boss or whoever is there, if they don't go talk to that person, because they don't feel comfortable. They don't know how. But even if they're in the same office, they just shooting an email. It would be like, why don't you just walk down the hall and knock on my office door or something like that? So, and then I'll add this too, because this is another funny thing. Even if you're not going to clubs, the cost of just being social and going out to eat is crazy. So even if you wanted to just, hey, me and my friends, we're gonna go have a little dinner party, the cost of food is crazy, and especially if you're young and you don't have disposable income like that, all these things are going to change. So I don't know how they're going to work through it the rest of the way, because the people
I
that
mean,
get
the
this
choice is to be more social, and I mean, it's social in a real way, where you're like, hey, come hang out at my place. Let's keep it simple. Let's go to a picnic. Let's go do this. Let's make our own experience, because the capitalism of our experiences aren't equated to anything being like fundamentally fair. The experience of these young people today is economically disastrous for them. For them to truly participate in it is a economic bad decision. Like taking out a loan you can't afford, being social the way capitalism wants you to be social today is economic negligence.
okay.
So I think a lot of these young people need to start rejecting these things, because it's really undermining like the health of your experience. Because there's no way being on Instagram in the club is fundamentally healthy in any functional society.
Hey, even I'll say this. I do think it's good that my nephew is in college, because that right there is almost like the last little bastion, the last little savior of where you kind of get forced to be social. But you got to
Yep.
remember too, this generation, they don't look at college the same way. It's not a worth it deal to them either. So they rather make money, get the money, and go there. And how much clout you get, how many followers you get. So
When capitalism turns every single person into a mini star, no one has equity.
that's what it's kind of becoming like. So
Jesus, man.
cool. Did we have anything else to hit up?
No, I mean that was it. Yeah, I think we hit all the subjects and we did it in a timely manner, which
Cool.
is odd. So we have 2 minutes. Like, share, subscribe. Catch us here every Friday. You can also check out our other channel, Night City Vibes, and you're into video games. I have video essays there. And with that said, Kenny, you can take us out.
All right. Just shout out to everybody that came through. Shout out to Strange Exchange. I will check the email to see what you had in mind for your topic if you want to be on what you call it, the Jumbotron. But shout out to anybody watch over on Facebook, anybody to watch over on Kick, anybody watch over on Twitch. Our home base is YouTube. If you could do us a favor, come over to YouTube, give us a follow over there. We're trying to rebuild it back up. More stuff coming. But yeah, catch us here every Friday, 11:30 Eastern Standard Time, 9:30 Pacific, and we'll talk about a little bit of everything, anything that's hot, new, and trending, or we can have a decent, engaging conversation about.
All right. Peace.
Peace.